Hi guys, nice to be with you today. In this webinar today, we're going to talk about the power of storytelling. Good stories can make you cry, laugh, think about something important, and ultimately have a good impact on a group of community and give a contribution to society. Do you know what instead doesn't draw you in? Statistics, graphs, and numbers. They're systematic, so they don't convey any personal or cozy message, setting a distance with other people and driving them away from your community. So, numbers and graphs don't put you into people's shoes. They don't share any experience or add any social value in the picture. But storytelling does. So let's get into it and let's see what we mean by storytelling. Storytelling describes the social and cultural activity of sharing stories, sometimes with improvisation, theatrics, or embellishment. Every culture has its own stories or narratives, which are shared as a means of entertainment, education, cultural preservation, or instilling moral values. So in today's world, everybody is overloaded with information. News are accessible everywhere. There are no filters or silences. So a good story allows you to cut you through the noise and target your audience with power and vigor. In other words, everybody remembers a good story. Stories are even more important than that. They work how our brains work. So, basically, as you see from this slide, a story activates parts of the brain that allow the listener to turn your story into their own ideas of experience, thanks to a process called natural coupling. For example, they are why we all feel that it's safer to drive than fly, even though the statistics prove the opposite. The brain releases dopamine into the system when it experiences emotionally charged events, making it easier to remember with great accuracy what we've just been told. When processing facts, two areas of the brain are affected, but an engaging story can engage many additional areas, including the motor cortex, sensorial, and frontal cortex. So when you're hearing or reading a story, your brain will react in a whole other way and simultaneously activate up to 7 areas all at once, including the zone that processes images, which works 60,000 times faster than language processing. Other activated zones include those that trigger emotions or those that command our other senses, for example, touch, hear, taste, and even smell. In a story, if you read words such as lavender, your brain will activate the zone of scent. You can actually smell a lavender, but good stories won't only engage your audience physiologically. They will spark interest, they will surprise the audience, they will persuade. A good story will inspire action. That's because we attach emotions to events to create stories and memories. Our brains are constructed that way. So storytelling is essential if you want to use the brain that way. It's meant to be used. We remember the emotional, the particular, and the violence especially. We forget the boring, the general. Before people learned how to write, they would tell each other stories. Stories are much easier to remember than simple facts. And that's what you can do at the end of your AA experience. Tell others about your stories. You can share with others the takeaways, your lessons learned, and all your advice, so you can help and inspire others to an individual level up to an entire community. So here are a few steps that you can take to lay out a story for your next storytelling. First of all, make a point. So the point of this slide is to teach you how to make your point. What does it mean? What do you want to communicate about your experience? Try to explain it and trying to explain how you accomplished your mission, what did you do during your experience, during your time spent abroad, what you have learned from your counterpart, and what you have taught them. So describe it in a simple way with clear words, is identifying your target and sticking to your point. That's very important. Stick to your point. Talk about your work tasks, if you have worked on a project with an HE, the challenges you have encountered, and the solutions that you have adopted. Then we get to set your approach. This is another rule that you have to follow if you want to tell a story. Your approach, your tone, that's very important when you convey your message to others. So what do you want to communicate about your experience? What emotion is tied to your cause? So try explaining how the program affected your life using a technique and a tone that catches people's attention and interest. This way you can elicit the appropriate feelings from viewers. People are affected by what you say, but also by how you say it. Set a friendly tone, try to inspire people to embark on the same experience as you in the future. Then, this is the last point, but is also probably the most important. Determine the ask. That means at the end of what you're saying, trying to call for action. That means first set your point. After that, try to elaborate it and give more details and try to set up an appropriate tone when you tell people something or when you tell your stories. But then at the end of it, you have to call other people into action and you have to explain them what they should do after they hear your stories. So we answer to the question, why is it critical for the audience to do something now? Try making one clear ask in your video to call people for action. So basically, try to involve the audience, stand out with your message, and reach the crowd with a takeaway message. The questions that you should ask yourself and that you should ask other people would be, why should people invest in their future? Why should they go abroad for an exchange program? Was it a useful experience for you and your host entrepreneur? In what ways? What are the things that you've learned? And how can people learn the same things? These are all the topics that you can share at the end of your experience to involve more people in the same scenario. Last but not least, check your materials and double check it, triple check it, because pictures are a very, very instant and useful way to convey a message. And when you tell stories that are very engaging to other people and you want to call for action from other people, you should make sure that they are paired with visual materials. That can be a picture, that can be a collage of pictures, it can be a video. Anything visual will help you to stand out in your story. So basically make sure you have clear pictures or videos in support of your story, because they will be crucial in conveying the message that you want to share. A clear picture says much, much more than 100 words. With a picture, you can elaborate feelings and you can share emotions much better than with words. So when you tell your story, make sure you have a clear picture. Try to avoid blurry pictures because they're mostly useless. And so try to, again, focus on a topic, focus on a subject, even in your visual materials, such as a video or a picture, because that will set you up to the point. And so at the end of this webinar today, we have learned that storytelling is a very effective way to involve people and to engage them in a certain situation or circumstance. And storytelling will bring people with you and will make them act in the way that you want if you're good at storytelling. Second point, storytelling tells much more than facts, graphs, or statistics. Why? Because it makes people feel something, and feeling is much more valuable than anything else. When you tell a story to other people, remember to follow these points. First of all, make your point. Second of all, set your approach. And third of all, determine the ask. If you follow these steps one by one, at the end you will have a broad audience after you who will want to be your ambassador, basically. Why? Because telling stories engage people, as we said. So if you want to have a community of people that follow your values and shares them with other people in the community, sorry, you have to make them ambassadors of your words. And the only way of making them ambassadors of your words and of your feelings, you have to use a story so they can understand what you mean. So thank you for watching, and now you can become an ambassador of the AYA program and inspire others through storytelling.